Hey, kia ora. Helen Browns here, coming live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. My apologies for being a little late this evening. We went for a walk. We went and did Zeffie's walk, came back, and I was just feeling a little tired. And I had like almost an hour before I had to go live. Yeah, that was an hour and 15 minutes ago. And I thought I'll just go have a quick cat nap. I set my timer for like 37 minutes. It gave me plenty of time to get up, splash some water on my face, and be here on time. Everything else was all set up, ready to go. And yeah, kind of slept through that alarm thing a little bit. I guess I was tighter than I thought, and I still feel like I could go back to sleep. Zeffie's still in there sleeping away, and it was just, I don't know, just really, really tired today. No explanation as to why. Had a great night's sleep. Have come off an awesome weekend, Christmas weekend, having yesterday off to celebrate Christmas as well. The brain's been going like fireworks with all sorts of different ideas for 2023. Yeah, it's so exciting, and the reorganization that's about to start to happen tomorrow. My bits and pieces start arriving. It's going to help me do some more organization within the RV. So I am super excited about that. And I may take some before and after pictures. I haven't decided yet about that. I'll probably do it anyway. Whether I'll share them or not, we shall see. But tonight I wanted to talk about capturing stories. I have a coach who is helping me organize my LinkedIn account. My LinkedIn account's been poorly neglected, and it's a bit of a mess, but we're getting in there and we're cleaning it up a little bit and having some fun doing it. And she was sort of like, you should do one about capturing people's stories. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of did that the other day. She says, no, not just for Christmas. She says, for any event. And I'm like, well, that wouldn't be such a stupid idea. So I started thinking of things, when do people come together? Weddings, funerals, milestone birthdays, reunions, holidays like Christmas, long weekends, even Valentine's Days. You could do stories on those. When a group of people get together, share stories. Grab your phone. Grab a... Where am I? Oh, that's right. It's in my other bag. Grab your digital recorder, which is in my other bag right now. It's not at my desk. I haven't unpacked that. But even if you have a small video camera, record it. Record the sessions. And I told her how we took the 100 questions on the other video that I did about a week ago about how you can take the list of 100 questions, cut them up into strips, put them into a bowl, a bag, or whatever. One person pulls it out, reads the question, answers it, then you go around and everybody answers it. And then you take all those answers together, get everything transcribed, and everybody has their own chapter answering those questions. Well, there's other questions you could put in there as well. It doesn't just have to be about that person. You could, I managed to find, only because I keep it right here, but this book, 3001 This or That Questions, you could turn around and say, okay, oh, these aren't page numbered. I thought they were page numbered. Okay, give me a number between 1 and 3001. And they could say 1348. Actually, what's today's number? 1245. So we're doing podcast 1245. So 1245 is meet a vampire or a zombie. Which would you rather do? Would you rather meet a vampire or a zombie? There's some fun things in here. Let's see. 1905 is fly as high as an eagle or be able to camouflage yourself like a chameleon. That's an interesting one. And you could go through and just get people's thoughts on this. Be a good writer or a good singer. Have dinner in Spain or dessert in Italy. Why can't you do both? That would be on a question like that. That'd be, why can't you do both? You could have dinner in Spain one night, the following night have dessert in Italy. In fact, they're not that far apart. You could probably do both in one evening. Have an early dinner in Spain and then fly over to Italy and have dessert. Wouldn't be that long of a flight. Go to a gift shop or a stationery shop. Stationery. I'm all about the paper. That one's easy. Oh, let's see. Play the bagpipes or the tuba. Bagpipes. I've always wanted to learn to play the bagpipes. Always. Yes. That was a very easy one. Let's see. Unicycle or tricycle? Tricycle. I don't trust myself on a single wheel. Although trying to learn how to ride a unicycle would be interesting as long as they had like guide wires going around some sort of harness thing that I was wearing. Then yeah. Squats or lunges. I don't like either. But I guess if I had to choose one, which do I like the least? Well, which one do I hate the least? Squats or lunges? Probably lunges. I would probably do that one. Pretzels or potato chips? Potato chips. Oh, let's see. Strawberries or blueberries? I like them both together, actually. But if I had to choose one, I would probably go with blueberries. Let's see. Oh, I like that one. Live in a tree house or an igloo? Tree house. I love tree houses. I absolutely love tree houses. And some of the ones that you can actually get for like places that will have, there's places that actually have tree houses you can rent. It's like a hotel or that sort of stuff. Pet fish or pet birds? Pet birds. I kill the fish, unfortunately. Every time I've had fish, I've killed them every time. And yet I follow directions to the letter on how to take care of the aquarium, how to change the water out, how to have the water. And when I was in New Zealand, this is when I was in New Zealand, we had there were certain days that you had to pull the water and let it stand for like 48 hours before you introduced it to the tank. And the reason that you had to do it on these certain days was because the day after that day is when they would dump the chemicals into the system, which were not good for the fish. So you take it out the day before they would do the dumping of the chemicals. And I followed everything. I did everything that they said to do and everything else. And somehow we ended up with cloudy water and the fish passing away. But birds, I've done well with birds. Did well with birds. Let's see. Own a vegetable farm or a fruit orchard? That's a tough one. Because I like getting fresh vegetables out of the garden and making fresh salads and fresh sandwiches with sandwiches with fresh baked bread and fresh veg and slicing up fresh vegetables on there. But I also love fresh fruit straight from the tree. So that's a really hard one to decide. Work out or get a massage? A massage. That was easy. Get a massage or take a bubble bath? Massage. I'm not one that sits in hot water. I get too hot sitting in hot water for any length of time. Let's see. What else they got in here? Be a dog or a cat in your next life? Oh, hi, Mama. Be a dog or a cat in your next life? Ooh. I had cats when I was growing up. I've had dogs since I've been an adult, since I moved to the US. That's a tough one. What do you think, Zeffy? Where'd you go? Oh, you're down there. Oh, she's waiting in her area for her night. I've got this puzzle thing for her to do. But you could take something like this book. There's also books that are called If dot 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 3 dots. And those ones have page numbers on it, and there's like 6 questions. If what would you do? And some of them are very thought provoking. But it's a way of engaging people and getting to learn more about people. Now, you could do this with a group of friends over a dinner table. There's also, do I have them? I don't think I have any close by. There's these square boxes that you get that have cards in them, and it's called Table Talk. And you put them in the center of the table, and it could be at a dinner party, it could be at anything, and you take turns of pulling out cards, and there's questions on there, life questions. And they could be different themes and they've got different themed table talk boxes, but they're really cool for helping start conversations or inspiring conversations and things like that. Like this book is, 3001, this or that questions. And, you don't just answer the question. It's sort of like, why? Why would you take that option? So you get people's thoughts down about different things. And when you think about it, you've got people's life stories that you can capture with like doing things like the 100 questions. Some of the table talk boxes deal with life questions. What was your reaction to this? What was your reaction to that? Where did you go to school? They have life questions in there. And so you can capture just have a video camera sitting off in the corner or something, or have a couple of digital recorders. And I say a couple because you want microphones in different directions, and a backup copy as well, just sitting on the table to capture people's thoughts, comments, that sort of thing. Or sit on the coffee table if you're sitting around just chit-chatting or whatever, or sitting around out in the open by a fire pit. There's, just take time that when you are gathered together with people, high school reunions, those sorts of reunions, or club reunions, or sorority reunions, fraternity reunions, all of those sorts of reunions, start asking people questions about their time at that school, at that university, at, whatever you're having the reunion for. Ask questions and record. Even have, part of the things for the reunion committees to consider is have something like a video booth set up where you have somebody manning the video camera, and they can go in there and they can, they could pick a question, you can have a list of questions, or tell a story. What's your favorite, what is your favorite memory from your time here? You could answer questions like, just have a group of questions there that they could answer about their time at the school, and get them talking about some of their stories and their memories. Again, you can create it as a book, and then everybody can get a copy of that book. And the book will go into, like, if you're at a school or university, you put it into a section with like yearbooks and things like that, where people are telling their stories at reunions years later. You can say, we all came here in 1984, and now it's 2023 or 2024, because that will be the next thing, wouldn't it? So 84 to 24, you got 40 years there. What's happened in the last 40 years? How has your life changed? What do you remember about being at this high school? What do you remember about being at this college or this university? Things like that. So not only can you tell stories within the family and get the family stories, think of organizations and things outside of that where there are reunions. It could be, maybe you're part of a band and you do a reunion trip. Talk about some of the stories, some of the memories of the tours and things. Maybe you used to tour with a particular band and now they're doing a reunion tour. What was your memories of touring with that band or that singer? Maybe you were, you performed on a stage somewhere in a theater somewhere, and that theater is celebrating their 50th anniversary, their 60th anniversary. What were your memories of performing on stage there at that particular theater? There's all sorts of things that you could do stories about. Or you could, as you got people coming in, you again have that video booth area, come and share your story. Or have that booth area where they can go and share their story. And you can, ask some questions about, what was the last play they saw there? What was the last movie they saw in that theater? If it's a movie theater that's been undergone renovations or anything, were they there for any of the red carpet events that particular theater had? What were their memories of that evening? And so by doing this at different locations and different things, you can now start capturing people's stories about being in that location, about the day it opened, or, some big event that they had there or whatever, and you can share your memories about this particular place. And they have a record there of people sharing stories, and you get to feel part of a community. And just when you're sharing stories about a building or about paying tribute to a person, even funerals, and people go, funerals? Yes, at funerals. What is your favorite memory of the person who passed? Keep that. And when you're keeping that, and I will tell you this, I wish I thought I'd doing this for Brad's funeral, of going around and asking people on camera, what is your favorite memory of Brad? Tell me a story about Brad. Because some of the people that were there had known Brad longer than I had. And so it would have been good to get some of their stories about what they remembered about him. What they remembered about him the most, and maybe some of his childhood stories would have come out at that. But, just, going in and having this area curtained off to the side, where you can go in there and you can share a story about the person who passed. I remember the time that we went over there. It was Christmas. Oh, I was about 7 or 8 years old. We went over to this place for Christmas and blah, 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 blah. I went to grandma's place for Christmas and we got to do this, share the stories about that person. My grandmother taught me a lot about baking. I still remember her teaching me how to hold on to 2 eggs and crack them both at the same time, wedge them open at the same time, and have the eggs drop into the bowl so I could whisk them. And it made it very quick and easy than going one at a time, going, you could do, and do that. And I haven't broken 2 eggs together in a long time. I'll have to get the bowl out and practice. But, what stories do you remember about the person who, if you're at a funeral, what's the stories that you remember the most about the person who's passed? At a wedding, same thing. What are the and this one could be a little touchy at times, but when you're at a wedding, if you're telling a story about the bride, remember the groom is going to get to see these stories. How much embarrassment do you want to cause the bride, or vice versa with the groom's side telling the stories? It could just, and when you're sharing your memories, you could also be giving them, wedding wishes as well. In that little booth over in the corner there at the reception. But just, remember who the audience is going to be. This couple's going to be looking back on these videos and things. And so just remember who the audience is for these when you're at these events and telling these stories. You don't know who's going to be watching them. Their kids could be watching them in 20 years' time. So how much do you really want to reveal? But, it could be stories from, maybe you were the best friend of the bride and you guys have known each other since you were in kindergarten. What are some of your favorite, what's one of your favorite stories growing up together? And the same for the groom. Just sharing those stories about that person so that in generations to come, they get to know who this couple were through other people's eyes. When you're telling your story, you're telling it from your perspective. It's always cool if you can capture a story from someone else's perspective. So like weddings, funerals, reunions, whenever you're coming together, milestone birthdays. I mean, if you're coming together for somebody's 90th birthday, what's your favorite story about that person? And that is another piece. And when you're doing this with family, that is another piece of the puzzle that you can put into that person's life. Because now you've got the story, you've got a bigger picture. You don't just have, here's when they were born, here's when they were married, here's when they died, here's when they had their kids, all the documentation stuff, all the facts and figures. We want to create a family history. And yes, genealogy will give you the facts and the figures and help you put it all together. And then the genetic genealogy comes and lays over top of that. And the genetic genealogy lays over top of the family tree, showing you who donated their DNA to your line, to you. So you can see where your DNA came from. And then on top of that, you have the family history. And this is where these stories come in. And if a reunion is doing that and they send out copies to everybody that was in attendance as well, or have it transcribed and put into a book, again, you have that information of people sharing their memories. And if you're, maybe it was one of your parents' 50th school reunion or something, or 60th school reunion, and you get a copy, and there's a copy of the book, and it's got in there some of their childhood memories and everything else. And you go through, did anybody ever mention their name in there for any reason? Why did they mention their name? So you can get things that way. Maybe it's a gala event of some sort, and you've been attending this particular fundraising gala for, 10 years or something. I don't know. And again, you have the video that you have the videographer going around, and you can, hire somebody to do the interviews, or just have the booth set up in the corner over there for people to go and share their memories about the foundation they're doing the gala for, or the fundraiser for, and that sort of stuff. So look at events where people get together. What stories could they share? Maybe it could be something like a humane society, or a pet or a dog rescue, or a cat rescue, one of those animal rescue places, and people are sharing stories of, and it's your, like, I don't know, 10-year anniversary of this particular rescue organization, and people are coming together who have adopted animals through these particular rescues, and they're sharing stories about the type of, did they adopt a cat or a dog? What type of cat or dog? What was its name? How, and they're sharing stories about how their life changed when they rescued this dog. What was their dog like? What was their cat like when it was rescued? When that first came into the home, like Zeffie, she was so scared. She did not want to go to anybody, didn't want to do anything. She was just so nervous. There's all these people. It was her first adoption event. There's all these people around. She's trying to look as invisible as possible in the back of her crate, trying to curl up and just be invisible. And then this woman comes along and spends 2 hours sitting, talking with her, hugging her, walking her around when she wanted to walk, which wasn't very often. She got out of her harness 3 times. They had to put 3 different harnesses on her to find the one that she couldn't get out of. But she was just so scared. She was just shaking and nervous and everything else. And something tugged in my heart that connected with her. And that's how I ended up adopting her. So, what's those stories, and bringing her home and finding out that, she had never been on grass before. And that was an interesting exercise, because we went up to the grass area and she just backed away from it. She had no clue what it was. And she'd kind of like sniff at it, and then she'd just back up again, and then she'd come forward and sniff it again. So to fix that, I just picked her. I feel sorry for this dog. I mean, the dog was already traumatized. This is like day 2. Pick her up, put her in the middle of the grass, and I go and stand, and I've got the 6-foot leash between us, and call her, and she literally gets up on her tippy toes and tiptoed through the grass. And I just kept putting her back on there so she could just walk off and get used to it, get used to the smell of it. And I would sit there on the grass with her, and she finally got used to it, and now I can't keep her off the grass. She was happy to walk around the different campsites and the grounds and all that, where there was all dirt and everything else, but she'd never been on grass before. But just the journey that we've been through over the last 3 years of helping her come out of her shell, helping her overcome some of her fears, we've literally saved each other. So there's all sorts of different stories that you can tell, and at different events you can share these stories with others. Or if you have a video booth, over in the back corner, you can capture these stories and you can get them transcribed and create a book that then goes out to the members that were there, so they have a transcription of the stories that were shared that evening. What a great thing for a wedding, for a bridal couple to, you get it transcribed and you put some of the photos from their wedding throughout the book, or even if you're part of the member of the family, and you can get some of the photographs of them growing up around the time when people were telling these stories about. So you could kind of have some references to how young the person looked or what they looked like at that age, that sort of thing, that you could put them through the book as well. There's all sorts of different ways that you can capture stories. It's even just as simple as just sitting down and interviewing them as well. Always start with the oldest generation. Always start with the oldest generation that is available to you at the time, simply because you don't know how much time they have. And if somebody's got a chronic illness or a terminal illness, also start with them as well. Yes, I know people can die unexpectedly, but if you start with the oldest generation first, and those that are terminally ill or chronically ill, and start with them, and just do it as their strength allows, and ask for permission to do it. Set up times and just make it as stress-free as possible. Tell them you're bringing over the snacks. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to make the coffee. They don't have to make the cold drinks. What would you like? Do you want coffee? Do you want tea? And stop on the way there and get the coffee and the tea or the cold drinks or whatever it is that they want, and pick up some snacks with them as well. And so that they don't have to do anything. They just have to sit there, relax, and just talk. And lead them through the questions as well. Ask them a question. And don't take up too long. Just make it a 30-minute session. It doesn't have to be any longer than that. If they want to keep going at the end of 30 minutes, that's fine. But set up another time to come back and do another 30 minutes with them, and just do them in 30-minute segments, so you're not tiring them out or they feel like a burden of what they have to answer. Give them a set of questions ahead of time. But yeah, if you're at an event, at a social event, even like a family picnic, talk about the experiences there. Ask the kids. Ask kids questions. If you've got kids there, like at a family reunion or at a family picnic or something like that, ask the kids, hey, what are you doing today? Oh, what's the best thing that you've done so far today? What have you enjoyed the most about this? Never ask them, what do you think of today? Because they'll probably go, I don't really want to be here. You know, you get some teenagers like that. You get some little kids like that. They feed off the older kids. But you know, what makes this day feel so special for you? You know, and then you can do that at any family gathering. Ask the kids questions, not just the adults. Ask the kids questions as well. They would love to get in front of the camera and answer questions. And you'll get all sorts of stories coming out of little mouth. You never know what kids are going to say. But that's, you know, just some of the ideas on how you can capture stories. It's just whenever you're at a place where there's a big crowd of people, and if it's an event and you're one of the organizers for it or something, have a video booth in a corner. Hire a videographer. Get two videographers. So you've got one that's roaming around and capturing the event. You know, the videographers and the photographers are capturing the event. Then you have the one that's over in the corner in the booth, and they're recording your memories, your stories, and things like that. So you can make it a lot of fun. And if you're just sitting around a campfire or whatever, or just hanging out together as a family for Christmas, you know, just have a video camera set up in a corner on a stand, or sit there with the phone, or, you know, put the audio recorders onto the tables and stuff, and just sit there and chit chat, and so that it's unobtrusive, so that, you know, it's off there on the side there, and people will forget that it's there. And then you can ask questions with the kids, you know, take them up to the camera and go, hey, what was the best present you got today? You know, if it's Christmas Day, what's the best present you got today? What was the best thing on the table today? What was the best thing that you know, what was your favorite dish? What's your favorite dish? And what was it on the table today? Did you enjoy it? You know, especially little kids, they can tell their stories too. You know, and they would love to tell their stories. Some kids get camera shy, and I understand that, but a lot of times kids, they want to be included in what the adults are included in when they're at family events and things like that. So just asking them, hey, what did you get? What was the best gift you got for Christmas today? Or what was the best thing you ate at the table today? Ask them those sorts of questions. Did you help in the kitchen today? Was that you I saw helping in the kitchen earlier? Yeah. What did you make? What did you help make? You know, and they'll explain it. They'll explain it to you with a little story to go with it and everything else. Well, I helped bake what was it I got one of my boys to make one time? Oh yeah, sweet potato casserole. We put it into the we made this sweet potato casserole that we put into the crock pot with marshmallows on top and let it sit for like 4 hours. And he wasn't really into eating sweet potato, but I said, hey, you help make it. You can at least see if it tastes good. He did. He liked it. That was fine. But that was my first Thanksgiving I ever cooked. And I remember sitting there taking the turkey out, and I was going to rinse it all out and everything else. But of course, you had to put your hands inside first to get all the bags out with all the giblets and the internal organs and everything else, and then opening the bag. And I remember Chris and Josh pulled up chairs because our kitchen was right there with the breakfast area, and they just pulled up a couple of chairs, sat next to each other, not in the kitchen, in the breakfast area where they could see everything. And I pulled the bag out with the giblet, and so I opened it up, and they go, what's that? And I go, oh, this is all the giblets. And they go, what's the giblets? And I go, well, first of all, here's the neck. And they're like, what's that? The neck? And I go, yeah, the neck of the turkey. And they're like, oh. And I go, and here's its heart. And they're like, ooh. Look, here's its liver. We could make pate with that. And I'm pulling out and here's their kidneys. Gross the kids out. But then, I washed the bird down, patted it down, and seasoned it and everything else. And I didn't stuff it. Put it into the oven, breast side down. I'd learned to cook poultry breast side down, baste, let it sit for an hour in the oven, then baste it every 30 minutes. And then for the last 30 minutes, flip it over. And then you got that nice, and so it had an all around golden skin all the way around. And the breast was nice and moist, because when you're cooking breast side down, the juices are flowing down to the bottom of the pan. Think about that. Juices are flowing down the bottom of the pan. So you want the breasts to be nice and juicy. So when Brad was slicing it, there was this clear fluid running out of them, and that was my first time ever cooking a turkey. And I don't remember where I learned that one at the community college when I was there. I was doing food preparation 101. And we turned it over for the last 30 minutes, and it got that breast area all nice and golden. So it was complete golden brown all around. And it was juicy. It wasn't dry. It was nice and juicy. And I was actually pretty impressed, my first turkey, how well it turned out. And even if I gave myself a pat on the back. But anyway, that's my first, that was my, and everything was cooking in the kitchen, and we're sitting there playing cards at the table, and my mother-in-law looks at me, because it's the first time I was cooking with my mother-in-law there. My first Thanksgiving, and my mother-in-law was there. And she looks around, she says, if I didn't know any better, I would not know that there was a Thanksgiving meal being cooked. Because I always run, when I'm cooking, I always run a clean kitchen. And, you know, you get, you do all the prep work beforehand, you do as much prep work as you can beforehand. You have it timed out as to what dish goes on when, so that everything is ready around the same amount of time. So food is not sitting out for extended lengths of time cooling off, that you can get everything on the table hot. That's supposed to be hot, and whatever's meant to be cold is cold. And I'd done a lot of prep. All I had to do was just finish off cooking on some things, baking the turkey, roasting the turkey, doing the sweet potato casserole, and then when the turkey came out, we had to let it sit for a bit. So while that was finished, while that was doing its thing, I had already baked the bread, and it was a pull apart bread thing, and so I just put it back into the oven to finish it off for the last 10-15 minutes of it, to finish it off. And that was a good pull apart garlic bread. It was layered, so you didn't even have to slice it, just pull the slices off. It was actually a pretty cool bread. It had a really cool recipe for that one. And then we got the table set, got everything on the table, and we had a great time, and the food was awesome, even if I say so myself. And my little helpers, they did very, very well as well. So that was my very first Thanksgiving that I ever cooked, and everybody enjoyed it. So anyway, I'm out of here. Figure out, find ways. So here is your assignment. Find ways when you're together to get talking, to get to know each other, to challenge each other, to ask questions. Look for those table talk boxes that you can get from Amazon. Even the book like 3001 this or that questions. And just see how everybody's opinion changes. Some might want to be able to sing really good. Some might want to be able to write really good. Why? Some will go, because I can't sing. That would probably be a common one. They can't sing, but well, if you had it said this or that question, would you rather do this or rather do that? But anyway, go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hei konera.